Ever rushed through a busy afternoon and wished you had a magic trick in the kitchen? Back in the day, there were endless quick bite wonders, old cookbooks and family memories filled with speedy 5-minute fixes for every craving. Today, we're unlocking 10 vanished classics, each promising a blast of flavor and nostalgia with barely any time at the stove. Get ready to count down the tastiest rapid-fire recipes from number 10 to number 1. Number 1, classic graham cracker icebox sandwiches from summer afternoons. Let's go back to humid afternoons when the only thing faster than your bicycle was the sprint to the kitchen on a summer day. Before the age of store-bought freezer treats, there was a beloved do-it-yourself solution: graham cracker icebox sandwiches. All you needed were sheets of honeyed graham crackers and a generous scoop of pillowy whipped topping like Cool Whip, which first landed on grocery shelves in 1966. Slather, sandwich, and slide them onto a tray. Then 5 minutes later, the chill had set in just enough. Little hands reached eagerly, grabbing these quick frozen snacks before they melted in the sun. What made them magic wasn't just the simplicity, but the ritual. Licking the escaped filling from your fingers, crunching into that sweet, cold bite as the sounds of a baseball game or neighborhood giggle floated through a screen door. Moms and grandparents loved this one because it was cheap, quick, and always brought a swarm of happy faces. No special appliances, no elaborate steps, just a kitchen, a few humble staples, and the patience to count down those 5 chilly minutes. Today, the treat aisle tempts with all kinds of fancy bars and sandwiches, but for some, nothing outshines the pure joy of those homemade graham cracker creations. Close your eyes, hear that creak of the porch swing, and get ready. The next quick classic is just around the corner. Number 2, buttermilk Bisquick drop biscuits from church suppers. The aroma of just-baked biscuits drifting from a church kitchen could make even the shyest soul hustle toward the potluck table. With Bisquick mix and a splash of cool buttermilk, these drop biscuits became the signature side dish at church suppers across small-town America. There was no flour dusting the counters or the clatter of rolling pins, just a quick stir in a single bowl, a spoon to plop the dough onto trays, and a hot oven waiting. By the time the first hymn ended, baskets of piping hot golden biscuits were being uncovered, soft and fluffy inside, kissed with buttery edges. These biscuits borrowed the magic of General Mills Bisquick, a baking shortcut first boxed in 1931, but the trick in the 80s and 90s was that extra glug of buttermilk, transforming the mix into a tender cloud in barely 5 minutes. At every potluck, reunion, or after-service luncheon, those biscuits vanished before the chicken could be passed. They weren't fancy or decked out in layers, but that was the point. Quick, comforting, homemade, and ready when you were. Today, elaborate bread machines and boutique bakery rolls take up the spotlight, but you can still hear echoes of laughter and the steamy hiss as baskets are unveiled. One whiff, and you're back at your folding table seat, spreading a pat of butter as stories and gratitude are shared among neighbors. Number 3, Jiffy eggs in a mug from the 1980s dorms. Steam would whoosh from the battered microwave in your shared kitchen, announcing the start of another college morning. Back in the 80s, dorm life was defined by what could be made fast, cheap, and with whatever gadgets were allowed in tiny rooms. Enter Jiffy eggs in a mug All you needed was a coffee mug, an egg, a dash of milk, and a fork. Maybe an extra pinch of salt if you were living large. Crack the egg straight into the mug, pour in the milk, beat it together, then microwave for about a minute. In 60 seconds, you pulled out a fluffy, surprisingly satisfying scramble right from a cup. This wasn't just about saving time. Pocket change and flexible dining credits rarely stretched to hot breakfast in the cafeteria. For resourceful students, mug eggs meant protein on the run and a real meal between classes, or after midnight library cramming. It was the quick fix before microwavable breakfast bowls and pre-packaged burritos flooded shelves. By 1985, the humble coffee mug became both a cooking vessel and a sign you'd mastered dorm survival. The sizzle and pop as the egg cooked was a campus soundtrack, and the aroma of cooked eggs in the hallway was the college equivalent of a neighbor's morning bacon. These days, you might see fancier versions all over TikTok, but there's something special about revisiting the back-to-basics original that fueled a generation of late-night thinkers. Number 4. Saltine Cracker Stackers from old country stores. Crack open that waxy sleeve of saltines, and suddenly you're back at a worn wooden counter where old country stores kept things simple, hearty, and satisfying. The Saltine Cracker Stacker was as honest as it gets. A square of sharp cheddar, a folded slice of ham or bologna, maybe even a dollop of tangy mustard right in the middle. You didn't need fancy kitchen gadgets or expensive ingredients, just what was already tucked away in the pantry. Back in the 1950s and 1960s, these bite-sized stacks filled tin lunchboxes and offered quick fuel for card tables during Friday night gatherings. The saltine's brittle crunch paired perfectly with the creamy snap of cheese and the salty bite of ham, delivering a taste that felt almost rebellious in its simplicity. Before anyone ever said the word charcuterie, this was the original social snack tray. You might remember seeing them passed on tin plates beside a bubbling pot of coffee in a hardware shop or at a church potluck, dressed up for the occasion with a fancy swirl of mustard. Over time, the world grew obsessed with intricate hors d'oeuvres, but you can still recall the pleasure of salt, cream, and crunch, all ready in under 5 minutes. Sometimes, the best flavors whisper from the past as quietly as a cracker crunching in your hand, reminding you that simplicity leaves the longest echo. Number 5. Tuna salad boats from lunch counters. A staccato crunch, a creamy, tangy bite. Nothing says quick lunch quite like an old-school tuna salad boat. Picture a 1960s lunch counter, chrome stools spinning under elbows, with a plate of crisp celery sticks crowned with generous mounds of tuna salad. This no-cook classic earned fans in both bustling diners and tidy home kitchens, where time was short, but expectations for freshness ran high. The trick was simple. Scoop out celery ribs and heap on a mixture of canned tuna, mayonnaise, a dash of pepper, maybe some relish, or chopped onion for bite. By the time a waitress poured your iced tea, the plate was ready. In the height of its popularity, especially through the 1950s and 1960s, tuna salad boats found their way onto lunch menus everywhere, from school cafeterias to Woolworth's lunch counters. The appeal was obvious. They were fast to assemble, undemanding on a hot day, and tasted bright against the standard fare of grilled cheese or soups. Home cooks loved how they could jazz up the recipe with whatever was on hand: parsley, sweet corn, even a sprinkle of paprika. That versatility, paired with near-instant assembly, made these boats the darling of church picnics and after-school snacks. Now, in an era when lunch can mean anything from takeout to a protein bar, the humble tuna salad boat recalls a time when simple really meant satisfying. One crisp bite, and you're back at the counter watching the world go by. Let's pause for a second. Did your family ever serve up celery boats? Or do you have your own 5-minute favorite lunch? Share your tastiest shortcut recipe or childhood lunch memory in the comments so we can all reminisce. Number 6, quick tomato soup from retro cans. Steam curling up from a chipped mug, that unmistakable tang fills the kitchen. Quick tomato soup, poured straight from a Campbell's can and made on the stovetop in minutes, was the unofficial answer to countless chilly afternoons. For families in the 1970s and 1980s, these cans were a pantry staple, promising comfort even on the busiest nights. Sometimes water did the trick, but for a richer treat, a splash of cold milk turned the simple soup velvet smooth, transforming it into something a little more special. On those evenings, a thick slice of white bread became a makeshift dunker, maybe topped with a pat of margarine and devoured between sips. The vivid red of the soup, the buttery sheen on the bread, and the hum of the TV in the background became rituals of their own. For latchkey kids or hurried parents, 5 minutes at the stove meant everyone could gather for a hot meal, no matter how hectic the day had been. Campbell's tomato soup first appeared on shelves in 1897, but it was the mid-century decades that made it a weeknight hero. Its convenience, paired with just the right touch of nostalgia, still brings back that feeling of warmth and togetherness. Even now, that first dip of bread into a crimson bowl conjures the memory of old TV trays and woolly socks, reminding you how simple comforts once stitched a family evening together. Number 7, marshmallow apple salad from 1960s potlucks. Cool Whip, canned pineapple chunks, diced apples, a shake of mini marshmallows. This was the magic formula behind a potluck staple that defined the heart of 1960s neighborhood parties. Moms and grandmas across America embraced the marshmallow apple salad because it demanded almost nothing from a busy kitchen. Just open, chop, swirl everything together with a generous helping of whipped topping, and suddenly there was a bowl full of airy sweetness ready for any crowd. No bacon, no timers, just instant comfort in pastel colors. Kids counted the minutes until adults unlatched the covered dish. The first spoonful brought the tang of apples, the slight crunch of walnuts, and that unmistakable squish of marshmallows, a carnival for the taste buds amongst a sea of casseroles and Jell-O molds. Even the sound of the serving spoon scraping that last glossy ribbon of salad from the Pyrex was enough to spark sibling standoffs for the final bite. This 5-minute wonder fit right in on foldable card tables in church basements and backyard barbecues, an edible symbol of an era that prized convenience and cheer. While these days our salads tend to lean greener and fresher, just one bite of this sticky sweet classic can still transport you back to a moment when every party felt special and dessert meant something a little bit magical. Number 8, cheese melt on rye from diner counters. Nothing says quick comfort quite like the cheese melt you'd see passed over a Formica counter in classic American diners. Picture a fresh slice of marble rye, the kind with caraway seeds that pop against your taste buds, loaded with thick slices of sharp-aged cheddar. The order was simple: stack it, send it beneath the broiler, and in just 5 minutes, a bubbling masterpiece was ready. As the cheese turned golden and the bread crisped at the crusts, a familiar aroma filled the air, equal parts nostalgia and anticipation. All across the country, from small-town lunch counters to big city delis, the cheese melt on rye became an iconic quick fix in the 1970s and 80s. It was affordable, filling, and endlessly adaptable. Some cooks would sneak in sweet tomato slices or a touch of spicy mustard right before the cheese hit the heat. Others doubled up for a bulkier lunch, always with a crunchy pickle on the side. You rarely see this open-faced ritual on menus today. Changing tastes and the rise of fast casual chains edged out simple broiler classics. But ask anyone who grew up popping into diners like New York's Eisenberg Sandwich Shop or roadside haunts along Route 66, and they'll remember the sizzle and the smell, that perfect intersection of creamy whipped cheddar and toasted rye. Biting in, you got warmth, crunch, and the kind of instant comfort food that lingers long after last call. Number 9. Peanut butter and banana sandwich from 1970s lunch boxes. The sticky, sweet aroma hit you the moment you untwisted the wax paper. Peanut butter and banana, a sandwich with humble roots but epic stamina all through the 1970s. This brainchild of hurried parents and imaginative kids dominated lunchboxes everywhere, especially as the tide shifted toward easy, protein-packed meals. Soft white bread was the canvas, slathered with creamy or chunky peanut butter, then crowned with thick banana slices. When time was tight, maybe 5 minutes before you dashed for the big yellow bus, this quick fix never let you down. Packed into brown paper bags, often alongside a box of High C or a crisp Granny Smith apple, the peanut butter and banana sandwich fueled a decade chasing down hopscotch records and backyard baseball triumphs. Its secret wasn't just convenience but comfort, a treat reminiscent of home, first made iconic when Elvis Presley sang its praises in interviews across the 1970s. While today's lunchrooms lean gluten-free and nut-aware, back then there was no allergy warning, just a happy mess clinging to your fingers. Though this creamy classic may have been nudged aside by pre-packaged snacks and changing nutritional trends, its legacy tastes like pure childhood, the energy of summer afternoons captured in every bite. Sometimes it only takes a simple sandwich to travel straight back to those sun-kissed, carefree days. Number 10. Cinnamon sugar toast from 1950s. Family kitchens. Few aromas capture the spirit of a vintage kitchen quite like cinnamon sugar mingling with melting butter on warm toast. In the 1950s, a slice of white bread, slathered generously with butter, then sprinkled with a mix of cinnamon and sugar, became an iconic after-school treat. Parents turned to the broiler for a quick, cost-friendly reward. In under 5 minutes, the bread transformed, edges curling from the heat, the sugar crackling into shiny golden pools. For kids coming home to empty kitchens or bustling siblings, this was more than a snack. It was a ritual. Wonder Bread was the go-to, perfectly uniform for even toasting, while metal broiler pans slid in and out of ovens lined with Formica countertops. There was joy in the crunch, the sweet cinnamon aroma clinging to fingers and skipping up your nose. Though toaster pastries would eventually push these homemade treats aside, anyone who grew up in those years remembers the anticipation as the kitchen filled with warmth and the tingling scent of childhood. Maybe somewhere out there, the next generation is ready to rediscover the pleasure of something as simple and special as cinnamon sugar toast.